Welcome to Real Estate Exposed, helping people in San Diego buy, sell, and refinance their biggest investment, delivering you timely truths, exposing important issues, and helping you get into the right home. Here are your hosts, real estate expert Daniel Beer, top-ranked professional by sales volume at one of San Diego's largest brokerages, and his mortgage partner, Todd with over $2 billion in funded loans.
Hey, what's happening? We're back on a Sunday morning here on Radio 600 KOGO. Radio 600 KOGO. That's the new name of the station.
Is that the new? They changed the name?
You're listening to Real Estate Exposed here on News Radio 600 KOGO. It's early on a Sunday morning, so excited to be with you. We have a jam-packed show. Of course, you have your every week hosts, Daniel Beer and Todd Pianin. Daniel Beer, that's me, of the Daniel Beer Group at Keller Williams Realty, and my man Todd, the guy that we trust our referrals to, our family to, our best clients to, Todd Pianin of Home Street Bank. What's going on, buddy?
Good morning. We had a little shake-up this week, did we, Dan, with the earthquake? I mean, I think that...
that's the way it's always at my house, Todd.
I know. Well, that's true because there's such love in your house. But we had a nice little earthquake at Friday morning at like 1:05. I hope you guys are okay. We're okay.
They're okay, Todd.
I know everyone's okay. So, I mean, but I'm super excited about today's show because we got lots of special guests in the studio. And we, as Dan and I always love to do, we love to talk about real estate and we love to talk about exposing the truths behind real estate. And we've got Kevin Allin from Anderson Appraisals in the house today. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning.
We got Sean Zanganeh from Windermere Homes and Estates, one of the top producers at Windermere Homes and Estates.
He's one of the top guys in the whole county.
He is one of the top guys in the whole county. He's recently married too. Did you know that, Dan?
I do. Congratulations, Sean.
So, good morning, guys. Thanks for the intro.
No problem. So we're one topic we got to bring up though really quickly is because Dan loves talking politics. Is what do we think about our presumptive Democratic nominee?
You know what? I'm personally just thrilled that she's received the nomination. Not because I ever thought in my life that she would get my vote. In fact, this will be the first year that I ever vote Democrat.
Oy vey.
But I will absolutely be doing so. Trump is it goes so far beyond ideology and so far beyond what he may do or not do in jobs, and he kind of goes way beyond that to who do I want being the president of the country in which my son lives.
So
this guy is not the kind of guy with the kind of character. With the kind of the guy is just a huge risk, and I want nothing to do with him.
And you want somebody who can be bought and sold in the White House instead.
Yeah, just like all the other politicians.
Right. Yeah, and under federal charges.
Exactly. So that nothing changes. So that we have 4 years of the same thing we've always had, and then we move on hopefully to a better group that we can choose from on both sides of the aisle.
Dan. I hope you're wrong. Sean, you got any comments about the presumptive nominee for the Democratic Party?
I look at the nomination and I look at how it affects us locally. So, I'll tell you, I don't have too much opinion on as a national stance. My focus is what's happening with the mayor, what's happening with the Chargers, and fun stuff here locally.
That's true. Kevin, any comments?
I'm not thrilled about either.
I think we're all not thrilled about either. It's the best of the worst.
Let's move on to what is happening here locally for a second, Sean. Then, what do you see happening in the local elections and with the Chargers situation? What do you see as the biggest issues facing the county?
I think for downtown with, over $6.5 billion of upgrades, I call it, going into the city with new development, new excitement, hotels, new buildings, everything going on down there. I heard that over 110,000 signatures were signed to push forward with the stadium, which is really exciting.
Which they need, I think they need only 60,000. I think to get it on the ballot.
That is correct. So I think it's going to be exciting times for not only downtown but San Diego as a whole, because if that all goes forward, that's really going to regenerate and add a lot of value to our community and really upgrade us as a city here in the United States. I think we definitely can be competitive on a national, international level with a premier stadium here.
Take a look at what just happened. You have a new flight, a new direct flight
to
Germany that just came in.
Right.
Well, they don't do that for just any city. And the more we can rejuvenate the city, the more imagine taking the effect that Petco made, which was tremendous. I mean, it accelerated the growth of the city by what? I mean, what would you guys say? I'd say at least a decade, if not 2 decades. It literally just propelled us forward.
Right.
And this project would just be tremendous. I mean, this is the type of project where you bring this in, and I wouldn't be surprised if we suddenly have a direct flight to Argentina, to Buenos Aires, or we have another one to Paris, and we just continue to be a larger and larger player in that high-end international travel space.
The question is, can the airport support it? Right, that's the biggest issue.
That's definitely not my area of expertise, but certainly, when you say, I was reading that this German flight is going to bring in X amounts of thousands of people more into San Diego every year, but obviously through that same runway. It's already the heaviest trafficked runway in the entire country as far as a single runway airport. We have by far this, excuse me, so let me revise that. I don't know if it's the most trafficked runway, but we do have the busiest, and this I know, we have by far the busiest single runway airport in the country. So when you already have that and you have these extra thousands and thousands of people coming in, I don't really know how they make that work, but obviously they did and they do.
Right.
I would love to see more direct flights to destinations like that.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Make my life a lot easier.
We'll remind you that you're listening to Real Estate Exposed on News Radio 600 KOGO. We're going to give you a number should you want to connect with anybody we have here in studio, and we'll remind you who we have because we do have some special guests. The number is 800-676-2420. So first off, we've had a lot of discussions on the show regarding appraisals. What do they mean? Why do they exist? How should they be treated when you're under contract on a property and it doesn't appraise? What are your options? Why didn't it appraise? Specifically, and here's one I'm going to have a question for you, Kevin, just throwing it out there early. Why didn't it appraise when we had 5 buyers that all agreed that was the price, fighting for the property, outbidding each other? Is that not a legitimate enough appraisal? But then we get an appraiser who says, no, we have a different opinion of value and it's not going to come in. And I'm also curious on the flip side, why do homes sometimes appraise for even more than they were purchased for? And so we're going to have a discussion with seriously, one of the biggest, most respected, premier companies in the appraisal industry, especially here locally, Anderson Appraisal Services. And we have Kevin Allin in studio to discuss everything and anything that has to do with that. Plus, you should be aware, as we're listening to this, that sometimes appraisals are needed for more than just a home purchase. They're needed for estate planning, for inheritance reasons, and other things that Kevin will share with us. But you might need a professional measurement made on your property. There are other services offered through an appraisal company, and should you need top-notch appraisal services, you can always call them. Here's a phone number for you. It's 858-273-3755. And we also have Sean Zanganeh. So we always want to add value here and have high-level discussions, which was what we're going to do going into the next segment. Sean, you're talking about a guy producing in the very upper echelon of San Diego County. There's 23,000 agents in the county. Sean's a guy that's going to rank somewhere in the very not how people say top 1%. Well, you're talking about the top percent of the top 1%. Okay, this is a guy that we're going to have a really great discussion with.
So he's on a 3 to 4 agent deal a year. Dan?
How many deals are you going to do this year, Sean?
Probably close to 50.
So you're talking about, we're going to get the perspective from somebody doing 50 real estate transactions, roughly 10 times the amount, a little over 10 times the amount that your average agent does.
12 times.
Is it 12?
12.
12 times 4?
It's 48.
Your math is so much better than not mine, Todd.
That's why you send me all your clients.
That's why you're the finance guy. So 12 times the amount, but seriously, that's the type of just brain power we're going to throw at you coming here in out of the break. We're going to discuss appraisal issues, the market, what interest rates are doing, and by the way, a gloomy May jobs report. So all
very
that
gloomy
coming back here toward you. You're listening to Real Estate Exposed. I'm Daniel Beer with the Daniel Beer Group at Keller Williams Realty and Todd Pianin of
Home Street Bank.
Home Street Bank. We're going to be back with you coming up next. Hey, welcome back. We are heading into our second segment here Sunday morning. It is Real Estate Exposed on News Radio 600 KOGO. Daniel Beer and Todd Pianin with guests Sean Zanganeh and Kevin Allin here in studio. Kevin Allin of Anderson Appraisals and Sean Zanganeh of Windermere Homes and Estates. We're going to discuss appraisals.
So what I thought would be
pesky things.
I thought would be interesting is if you're okay with this, Kevin, is that Sean and Dan combined. I mean, you heard Sean's going to do over 50 transactions this year. Dan will do over 220 transactions this year, and they just they have appraisal issues come up from time to time, and well, more than time to time recently. And I would think that, I think what would be kind of cool would be kind of almost like a rapid fire session on some of their questions, right? So, I mean, Dan's had some challenges in the past, Sean's had some challenges in the past, and kind of like how you guys handle it at Anderson Appraisals, which you guys are approved with Home Street Bank. So slowly you're starting to get some of our appraisal business, which we love because we've worked with you guys for 10 plus years or more than that. Since my old First Capital days, I've been working with you guys, so it's been like 16 plus years. So, Sean, what's your first question for Kevin?
What is the when you see a contract price? When you get told there's multiple offers? What is the approach you take when someone says, you know what, I got 6 offers on this house? We're over the list price. What is your approach in taking that information and assessing it to the comparable sales in a neighborhood?
Yeah, does that have any weight?
It definitely has weight, and appraisers should be taking it into consideration and should be articulating that in the appraisal, particularly if it is a new sale setting the new high in that market. So,
do you hit the sales price though when it's like that? I mean, is it hard to do with the new Fannie Mae kind of guidelines that you guys are under?
Well, there's so many regulations that we're under and so many guidelines that we're under. So it really depends, how much market data there is there to support that. A lot of times right now with the shortage of inventory, every new sale is setting a new high.
Right.
And, there's supportable time increases that we can support, if.
So you are able to take time. You are able to take the direction of the market into effect?
Yes.
Or into consideration?
Yeah, definitely. So say if the market's been trending, say, at 1 or 2% a month, and it's been going up like that, and we can push that forward on all of the comparables and looking at the pending sales that hopefully are supporting that same type of an increase. That allows us to support a purchase price. But if you've got a purchase price that's 10% above the last sale in the neighborhood, that gets really tough to support. And at that point, our hands are kind of tied because we do have to have sales that support that price. What the bank's looking for in that scenario is they want to see other buyers have paid that price and have been willing to close at that price.
Yeah, but that house is the one with the view, with the pool, with the lot that's 20% larger. With the that's the house that's not stuck in 1991, and they've upgraded everything and modernized the home, and they have a smart system and solar. And that house is different than those other homes. Not entirely different. It's not going to sell for double. Absolutely not.
Right.
But
sounds like a realtor talking to you, right, Kevin?
Well, here's the thing. My view is this. Here, as a listing agent, we will routinely put buyers in a place. As a listing agent representing our sellers, we routinely will run our 5-day blitz program, which is a trademark program that we have to cause buyers to compete against one another for the purchase of that home. Where the market shows up and they get into a competitive situation with one another. So if we have a home on the market for $798 or so, and let's say it really is one of those choice special properties, and we have it on the market for $800,000, and we get most of the homes. Let me back up. Most of the homes in the neighborhood sell for whatever it might be for $775. Maybe the really, really good one once sold for $810, but $870, $880, $890, etc. But I'm able to generate 6 offers, 7 offers, 6, 7 offers, 8 offers. Isn't that an appraisal enough? Didn't I just prove there to be a market for the home and that to be market value? Regardless of where I'm able to push that price, if I can push that price to $850, and I have a buyer right behind that $850 ready to buy at $845, haven't I proven the market value right there and then?
You have proven that there's market demand for that and that there's support for that market value. Unfortunately, the regulations don't necessarily adopt that same philosophy. You've got multiple offers at that, but you don't have proven closed sales that say the market's willing to support that. Multiple buyers. You have multiple buyers that have made offers, but there's not sales that prove willingness.
So I have a question. Here's a question I've asked our chief appraiser. Maybe you can answer it. So when the market took its downturn and we saw the huge drop, right, in values. So what happened a month ago, you basically saw, years ago, you basically saw the values were going down. Mm-hmm. So now Sean or Dan sells a house that now we were in a moving up in a market trend, but you have no closed sale. All your closed sales are short sales and foreclosures. How did you guys justify it back then? Did the regulations change? Because basically what you're then saying is that now the market momentum has moved upwards, and you have to use closed sales that happen to have closed, and most of those closed sales were short sales or REOs. Mm-hmm. How did
a similar scenario even back then? Back then you were dealing with a lot of short sales, which were what we would call atypically motivated sellers.
Right.
Again, we would be making market-based adjustments for what's happening in the market as far as appreciation, and when we can support that, we do. So to answer Dan's question, all of those offers, they're valid market data that we can look at and utilize to help support that value, particularly when you do have what I would call the it property. When you've got the property that's got the best location, the view, the pool, has it. Those are difficult to appraise, but at that point, the appraiser's really having to do their job and support all of those amenities. I call it a compounding effect. When you get, say, just a cul-de-sac versus a typical residential street location, that's one variable. But then when you put in the awesome pool, the awesome view, each one of those kind of compounds in value, and how an appraiser approaches that definitely comes down to the skill of the appraiser. So appraisals have been commoditized big time since all the regulation changed.
Right.
And so, a lot of appraisers are, kind of doing the bare minimum to get the job done and not necessarily going the extra mile.
And that's what bothers me is it seems sometimes like we've gone through this extensive marketing process to get full value out of a property, and then in comes some guy on his GPS, never been to the area, shows up and tells us that we're all wrong, right? So, but I think that an issue is, from what perspective is the appraiser looking at it? Are they actually looking at it in terms of what will the market pay and bear for this home, or is it more of a what would be a safe valuation for the bank not to take not to get beat up on it should the buyer not perform on their payments?
By definition, the appraiser is appraising to market value. So we're supposed to be putting what we feel the market value is on the property. So we are appraising to market value. On the flip side, though, there's also a lot of regulations and requirements that the banks put in place that
have nothing to do with what a buyer's thinking about.
Yeah, to a certain level that protects their interest. Really, the appraisal is a risk tool for the bank.
Exactly.
The buyer isn't even the client or the user of the appraiser. The appraisal isn't intended for the buyer.
Right.
And so there's a misconception there. Even though the buyer is typically paying for the appraisal, it's not for them. It's for the bank, and it's for the bank to assess risk.
Sean, what are you seeing in terms of appraisals right now? Are they coming in? Are they coming in high, low? What are you experiencing?
We're seeing, if you notice the market and take a look at what's happening, you'll notice that the back-on markets is what us agents call, basically when a home goes to escrow and then bounces out of escrow, whether it be an inspection or appraisal. The big thing we're seeing is it's usually 10 or 15 days in, and it's because of that appraisal. So I'm curious also is how much consideration do you take when an educated agent and a local area expert will come to you with comps, floor plans, supportive data? How much of that do you really take back with you and use, and how much of that is really important in your decision, even though you might not be the expert in that specific enclave of a neighborhood?
And that's a great question. We have to head into break, but I want the answer to that too. In other words, what can you do, whether you're refinancing or purchasing, selling, what can you do in order to help the appraiser arrive where we want them? You're listening to Real Estate Exposed here, News Radio 600 KOGO, Daniel Beer, Todd Pianin. We're coming back with that. Welcome back. We're discussing appraisals. There are too many appraisal issues we're running into in the marketplace right now. You're listening to Real Estate Exposed here on News Radio 600 KOGO. We have Kevin Allin of Anderson Appraisal Services. Absolutely, if I was needing an appraisal for anything or a professional measurement done, even if it was an estate planning issue, these are the guys we'd call. So
these are the guys I refer to, Dan, when somebody calls me up and says I need an appraisal for estate planning or divorce or whatever. So I mean, give them Kevin's contact number because these guys are great. They know that I've been working with them for 18 years. So
you could reach these guys at 858-273-3755. There's truly nobody more professional. These are just the guys you want to talk to should you have an appraisal need. 858-273-3755. Sean Zanganeh, this is the best agent at Windermere Real Estate here in San Diego County. He's in studio, $30 million producer, 50 deals this year.
In our opinion, one of the best agents at Windermere.
He's the best. And so, he is. Did we ask Sue and Sally and John to come in? No, we asked Sean. Sean's here. Sean asked the question. Sean, what's that question again? Right before we went into break. Because you're facing appraisal issues from time to time on your deals, sometimes specifically on your home sales where you're representing sellers and you drive that price up for your seller as you should. What can you do, or what would you like to, what are you typically doing in order to assist the appraisal? And let's find out how Kevin would react to that should you do that with Kevin.
Thanks, Dan. Well, basically my question is, a lot of times our job is to protect our seller. And a lot of times we'll get this appraiser who may not be super familiar with the area. What type of influence do you accept? And I don't want to use the word influence, but maybe more of information as far as if we know about, we're the local guy. We know the floor plans. We were here when this place sold out. We know who lives down the street and who did what remodel to their house. We know what's going on. So a lot of times part of our service is we will meet the appraisers there because we all know when an appraisal doesn't come in, we all lose. The buyer, the seller, the agents, everybody. So what we want to know is how influential is it when we bring you comparable sales, floor plans, a list of upgrades and their cost and when they were done. Is that information valuable to you guys, or do you kind of just brush it off? Because we're the guys who live and breathe, and we may even be that neighbor, and that's why we have that listing for that particular area.
Yeah, that information is very valuable to us, and I'm a big believer in the realtor being the true market expert. Appraisers don't have the same intimacy that you do. You've been in most of the comparables. You see everything on Caravan. You know the differences. So the information that you provide us is very, very helpful. So if you've got information on the particulars of a house, whether or not the floor plan is a bad one or a good one, how good the upgrades were they Home Depot quality or were they custom quality, all of that information is very valuable to us. And, as an appraiser, we're definitely going to take that into consideration. I mean, it's great insight that we don't have. When you're a lot of agents will also a lot of times give us completely irrelevant data. We're appraising a 1,500 square foot house, and they give us 10 comps of 3,000 square foot houses.
Yeah, that's why you need an agent like Sean working on your behalf because look, everybody in every profession, okay, and I think just about in any profession. At the break, we were talking here with Kevin. And his partner John, actually, who's in studio with us as well, just off the mic, and we were talking about how so many appraisers just mail it in and do the bare minimum just to get the thing submitted and collect their fee. Well, that happens in every industry.
Yeah, but they don't get
every industry.
Also, to be fair, they've gotten their fees cut dramatically, and they have to go through an AMC process. So, I mean, I'm not trying to protect those guys, those people out there, but they're mailing it in because they're not getting paid a fair price for what exactly they're doing, to be honest.
But for that reason, you want to have an agent that's going to push beyond that, not allow them to get to that place. Right. And somebody like Sean, that's exactly what you want to do.
Right.
If you want to connect with Sean, mysddreamhome.com. That's singular, dream home. You only get one. Okay? mysddreamhome.com. Go there. Connect with Sean. You're going to just see what a totally different level of service looks like, and not just, okay, it's under contract, great, let me forget about it and move on, but rather needing to go that extra step because we understand the appraisal industry and what it's like, and you don't always get a Kevin at your door. Sometimes you get the guy that's not going to go and really push and really do the job thoroughly. Shifting gears a little bit, though.
Yes, sir.
what's happening in the marketplace? That's what everybody wants to know. There's a lot of, we had this gloomy jobs report in May. We have agents such as myself talking about the oncoming of a shift, a little bit of a downturn. We're years into this cycle.
Downward cycle, yeah.
Right. Well, we've been into an upward cycle.
Right.
Downward interest cycle, yes.
Right.
But we've been years now into this upward moving pricing cycle. And I'm personally seeing it thaw out in the inland luxury market where it typically starts and then trickles down to the rest of the market. Sean, what are you seeing out there? And what is your belief for what we will be seeing over the course of the next 12 months?
Let's start off with a positive. We are up 5.1% as of last year's numbers, which is a great thing. And in some micro markets, we notice that the market is still increasing, and we will continue to see that trend.
Yeah.
However, once we start to look at some of our secondary markets, we see people that can't quite afford the coast. Now they're trickling back. The coast is still hot. It's been hot since the downturn with a lot of renovations. If you drive through anywhere from La Jolla up to Encinitas, you see the whole coastal market going through massive renovations, hundreds of millions of dollars being spent on beautifying properties that are there or completely rebuilding them. So that's the higher end market. As we trickle east though, we notice that homes are starting to sit on the market a little bit longer. In a neighborhood, Forest Ranch, where we do a lot of service, we noticed that homes were sitting on the market less than the average market time in San Diego at the mid-spring part of the year. Now we've trickled back, and now they're 45 or 50 days plus, which sellers who had anticipations of selling in the summertime are now going, what do I do?
And to be clear, when you're saying as you go east, in 4S as an example, that's still west of the 15. So we're not talking about going really far east.
No.
This is fairly coastal, but just simply not at the coast.
Correct. And we were talking even as luxury markets like Rancho Santa Fe, like we were talking before the show, that, homes over $3 million, we're just seeing less of them move compared to last year.
I want to jump in here real quick. So I want Kevin's take on this. So Dan made a prediction last week. Not prediction, he made a statement last week preparing all of our listeners for what he feels is happening in the marketplace and what's going on. And I want you to share that with Kevin, and I want to see if Kevin kind of sees the same kind of trickle effect that you're seeing.
Yeah, it is an interesting window you have, Kevin, because you appraise so much property all across the county. And so here's some, not an opinion, but here is a
statement.
A stat, black and white, okay? Rancho Santa Fe, the Covenant, the jewel of Rancho Santa Fe, which is known as the Covenant if you're not familiar with it. Home sales over $3 million. Going back from 2014, 2015, and year to date. Okay, this will tell you if we're heading into some kind of change. 2014, 32 homes sold over $3 million in that market. In 2015, it happened to be, by just coincidence, the same number. 32 homes over $3 million sold in the Covenant of Rancho Santa Fe in 2015. This year to date, 9. So let me repeat that. 32, 9. We're headed towards somewhere between 19 and 20 sales if that trend continues, which is a major drop-off in the volume at that price point. And that echoes what I'm seeing in all the inland luxury markets, your luxury Poway, your luxury East County, your luxury, all that stuff that's just kind of from Rancho Santa Fe on east. That's what we're seeing. We're seeing inventory rise, longer days on market, price reductions coming in. And the coast, meanwhile, the coast has no idea this is going on. Yeah. The coast is crushing it still. But that's exactly how it was in 2006, guys. In 2006, that's exactly how it was. The coast will find out a year later. That's just, what are you seeing, Kevin?
I agree with you completely. You are right on. It's the coastal region has still been really strong, but the higher end price tiers have been softening. So, and Rancho Santa Fe is definitely a bellwether for that.
So Dan uses an indicator. He's saying that inland high end price marketplaces, the high end Poways, the Highland Rancho Santa Fe's, the high end Fairbanks, that them slowing down has a trickle effect that we could see. We're probably 18 months away.
Guys,
from,
let's take a look at bigger picture here, though, because the coast is not worried about moving to a bigger house or a smaller house.
Right.
They just want to get closer to the water.
Correct.
What we're dealing with in the
or
inland
away
communities,
from it if they're sick of the
well,
fog.
yeah, I mean, depending on what
Yeah,
beach you
May and
live
June.
next to.
Right.
But what we're seeing more than ever today, and I had an open house on Saturday with 70 groups come through, and I asked all of them very simple
What neighborhood?
questions in Poway. We had 70 groups
lower
come
price
through.
point.
Well,
Lower.
we were about 800,000, which is a very, very tight market in San Diego as a whole.
That's
Right.
that's an upper end price point in Poway, though.
Yeah, for sure. So the biggest concern all of them had on their minds was, I have another house to sell. And that seems to be the big looming problem with our marketplace today. Is the reason we're seeing market times come up is because somebody puts a house on the market, they go make an offer on another house, it doesn't work out, and then they're sitting in limbo with that house that was a little bit over market priced, and now we're figuring out what to do with it.
We're jumping in deeper to the market discussion here coming in out of the break. You're listening to Real Estate Exposed. Todd Pianin of Home Street Bank, my regular co-host here week in, week out. I'm Daniel Beer, the Daniel Beer Group. Year-to-date, top producing agent in the county, all brands included. We're back with you on a market discussion you won't want to miss. Welcome back, Real Estate Exposed. News Radio 600 KOGO here. We're talking about a lot and a lot of value being provided, but we're not going to be able to get to everything. So if you want to connect with us,
way too much. I mean, we want these guys back. I mean, we want both these guys
and
back.
we might just have to do that. But if you want to connect with any of us here in studio, including Todd Pianin, Home Street Bank, if you're refinancing right now, by all means, man, stop trying to time the market. Just lock in a rate you're going to be thrilled with here moving forward 30 years. And if you're looking to sell your home, 2016, make no doubt about it, 2016 is this is the year where the last peak sales are going to happen. I don't know if we're actually already past the peak, if we're at the peak, or if we're approaching the peak. We'll never know until we're past it, though. That's the point. So if you actually know we've peaked, you're late. Okay, that's the way it works. You can only know looking backwards. So but the beauty of it is then you get to talk to somebody like Todd and lock in a rate that's going to serve you moving well past any temporary dip that you're going to live through. So you have a buying and selling opportunity right now that's really unique to this market. We've discussed it with you in more detail. Let's give a number out. 800-676-2420. If you want to connect Daniel Beer Group, or Todd Pianin, Home Street Bank, 800-676-2420. And we love being with you here on another Sunday morning.
I mean, let's talk interest rates real quick, and then I want to get back to our guests. But, I mean, I don't know if you saw this in the news this week, Dan, but Germany dropped their interest rates to 0. Never in the history of recorded interest rates has Germany dropped to 0.
Well, they're having their own issues, right, in the EU, and you have the British exile from the EU that's
Right.
pending here, and
All I'm saying is that
interesting.
interest rates have dropped suddenly because of this. This is not going to hold. So I would say to you, if you're a buyer, or if you've even done a loan in the last 3 months, we can probably get you a cheaper interest rate than what you locked into 3 months ago. So, and if you're buying, your buying power is going to be much higher. I would definitely call Dan's office. I'd definitely call Sean. I mean, we're seeing interest rates at all-time 2-year lows. 2-year lows, I'm telling you, but it's not going to last.
So let's do this, because we only do have about 3.5 minutes before we have to say goodbye and do this again next week. Market predictions. We have Sean Zanganeh. Sean Zanganeh of Windermere Homes and Estates, one of the top producing agents in the county, okay, here in Southern California. Sean, 12-month view. Where are we heading? Because you skirted the issue here on the last segment. Where are we heading in 12 months?
I think that the higher end east of 5 is going to see a slowdown. I think our 600 to 900 market is still going to keep cruising along because we're bringing in so many great jobs to San Diego, more than we even see on the news, especially in the tech industries, the startup industries. We had over 100 employees come in for a business app just a couple months ago. These well-paid employees who are still looking for that price point of home, I still see that to be a solid place to be. And then I see a lot of people staying put in the lower end going, I can't quite jump to that next house. So I think it's segmented and fragmented marketplace, but I do see homes east of 5 and the higher end starting to kind of slow down. That's my predictions for the next 12 months. We'll see here.
So you think, and you don't think it'll trickle into to west of 5, at least not in the next 12 months?
No, I don't think so. With all the money coming from East Coast, Texas, Arizona, Nevada area, you're seeing a lot of people buying second and third homes. I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon here in Southern California.
Todd, what are you seeing in the industry with loan volume? Just applications here locally?
We're blowing up. I mean, we're the busiest. Tyson and I are the busiest we've ever been. I mean, we've already got. We're booked out through July. I mean, we're going to have a huge monster month in June. We're going to have a huge monster month in July. I mean, thanks to the two of you guys for sure. But
where are a lot of these purchases taking place, and what kind of price points?
Under $1 million. I mean, our refis that we're doing, any refis that we're doing is actually $1 million plus. But I would say that multi-million-dollar refis that we've been doing. But I would say that the $600,000 to $800,000 range is just, we're buried.
Kevin, where are we headed? Kevin of Anderson Appraisal Services, top-notch appraisal firm here in town. Where are we headed in the next 12 months?
Well, we've still seen the entry level, the sub 500 stuff, still really moving strong. I don't know if you guys are in that market, but
absolutely,
we're definitely
we do a lot of that.
Seeing a lot of demand still there. The high end. I think with the election coming up, it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen, but. I don't know that I have a real strong prediction.
Well, you have Kevin Allin right there, Anderson Appraisal Services. Should you need anything at all, appraisal related, measurement related, give them a shout, 858-273-3755. We've had Sean Zanganeh here in studio. We're going to have to do it again, Sean. Time goes by pretty quick.
You bet.
If you need to connect with Sean, mysddreamhome.com. You can find every home on the market there. Go to his website, mysddreamhome.com. And, of course, I'm Daniel Beer Group, and I'm looking forward to being with you next week.
I'm Todd Keanan, Home Street Bank, member of the FDIC, equal housing lender, NMLS ID number 304014. I won't be with you next week, Dan, so you're going to have a great show without me. Have a great weekend, everybody.
If you need to connect with us, call 800-676-2420. That's 800-676-2420 and get your room-by-room analysis.